Atul, welcome to the WimLex Show. I think it's episode number 11 without Willem today, but he is here and sent us some questions at least, and that's how he is going to participate on the podcast. Though we are talking today about MediaMarktSaturn, you're a CTO in this company structure, about your experience of CIO versus CTO versus like technical challenges, all the stuff in depth today. And before we're starting with the first question, maybe introduce yourself a little bit and tell us a little about your history and your current role.
Okay, well, thank you, and thank you for having me here. I'm excited to be here and talk to you and your audience. My history. So as you can tell from my accent, I am English, but actually my parents are from India. I was born in the UK and raised in the UK. And so I spent all of my life there. In my life, I think I would describe my career in three phases. The first phase was with Accenture. I was a management consultant. I left university doing an engineering degree, joined Accenture and spent 16 years with them, made it a partner, and decided to move on. I then moved on and joined Tesco. Tesco is a large UK and global retailer, and when I joined them, they were in the UK and they were also in many markets in Asia and Europe. They were also launching in the US at the time. And so I joined them as an operations director. So I moved from technology into the business, into an operations team. I ran an operations team. And then I moved, as Tesco evolved, into technology. I saw Tesco evolve from a single channel to a multi-channel retailer, and the evolution of that from the perspective of business process, from the perspective of business model, and from what it means to technology. I then left there after doing a number of roles. I did an operations director role. I did the CIO of Asia role. Then I became the group CIO firstly for operations, and then for all of the systems that customers touch. So that's the club card systems, the online systems, the in-store systems. I looked after all those. I then left. I then set up my own company. My own company was all about digital transformation, so I worked with a number of customers to help them on their transformation journey. We just did that at Tesco. I led the transformation change there with a number of my colleagues there to help transform the technology team there. I then, as part of my company, worked with a number of customers to do the same thing. And about 9 months ago, I came here, MediaMarkt in Munich. I actually came here with the mindset of kind of what I do as a consultant, and I liked the story so much, I joined the business. So I joined the business about 7 months ago now, early May, and have been there ever since.
I know most of the German listeners know a lot about MediaMarkt. Can you give us some rough numbers about how many employees are there? How many retail stores do you have to manage? How many people in IT are working in MediaMarkt?
Yeah, so I can tell you that we have about 1,000 stores. We're in 14 markets across Europe. Mm-hmm. We are the number one or number two in most of our markets that we operate in. We're the largest consumer electronics retailer in Europe, the second largest in the world, next to Best Buy. So we're a very large organization. We have 65,000 employees across the 14 markets we operate in. In technology, I have around about 680 full-time employees and about 1,200, 1,000 people who work for me through external employees or contracts.
And how many of those, like now 1,000, almost like 2,000 people, how many real developers are in there? So how many people are really developing stuff for MediaMarkt?
So more and more. And so one of the things that we've been doing is and a lot of organizations that go through digital transformation are doing is moving their technology departments to be more engineering led. Mm-hmm. So one of the things we are actively doing is hiring more engineers, people that can build things. And our percentage of engineers is increasing all the time. In the last year, we hired 140 engineers into MediaMarkt. And we've got an engineering center in Munich where we have 55 people that code our front end. We have more and more engineers joining us all the time.
You've seen like the transformation into like a multi-channel company at Tesco. You've mentioned in the beginning. Is it like the same transformational process you're seeing now at MediaMarkt, or it is different because the market environment changed already?
I think MediaMarkt is a multi-channel business. It has been as long as I've seen it here. So we offer products online, in stores, pick up in stores, ship to home. All of those different facets are available to our customers. I think the transformation that we've done here really has been about the way we do technology. And so the journey has all been around getting more from tech, being more innovative, and getting pace. If I describe the journey in a simplistic form, it's around two facets. The first one is around the relationship with business and technology, and the second one is around technology itself. In my view, the reason why traditional technology methods are slow, are expensive, are difficult to manage.
Can you name a few traditional methods? Or what do you
Well, I'm talking about traditional IT departments, so we say, and what I mean by that is kind of standard waterfall methods. And the reason why I say they're slow and they're expensive is because of two reasons typically. One is because of the relationship between the business and technology. The relationship is a hands-off relationship. So the business teams would say, I want some stuff. The tech teams will then say, okay, what do you want? They'll write it all down, and then they'll go away and start doing stuff, and then 9 months later they'll come up with something, and the business teams will then say, well, that's not quite what I asked for. Or my business has changed, or can you do this? And then you're into change and more cost. And so for me, that's kind of one part of the relationship. How do the business and how do technology work together? And then the second part of the kind of the way of working is how do we do technology itself? So how do we build code? What tooling do we use? How do we take the organization handoffs away? And so these are the two facets that I see. So
okay, and this kind of transformation here, we're going to talk about the transformation of the company as a total, but just in the IT department, how does it work? So my experience, I share some of my experience. So I was working for the Otto Group, a major company in Germany, for a couple of years ago, and their IT department was like building number 3. Yeah, usually all the basement areas have been used by the IT department. Most of the IT guys did not develop stuff, though they managed agencies or did some architectural work, whatever this was back at the time, and they did exactly what you've said. So there was like some kind of requirement, there was like a handover, and there was no real Q&A involved, and everything took way too long. But in the new agile world, which you're now heading to, most of these roles in the IT department are not needed anymore, because the stuff they managed, the risk they mitigated in the time when waterfall processes was a leading method for IT departments, they're not needed and they don't have the skills. So even though Otto or other bigger companies do have a lot of people in IT department, though my experience was that it's super hard to transform even those people that are very, very close to IT into the more agile organizations. Do you share this, or do you have a different take?
No,
here?
I mean I have a slightly different take, and let me explain why. I mean, the first thing is to be clear on kind of why have we changed as an organization? Why is technology now becoming such an important topic in every company or should be an important topic in most companies? And I'll tell you the reason why is because, and the reason why IT's moved from kind of the basement to actually a different level in the office is because technology now has moved from being a cost center, i.e. something which costs you money but you need, to a revenue generator, i.e. something that's going to give you new forms of revenue, that's going to allow you to touch customers in a different way. So the conversation with technology in any organization, in most organizations, and in retail in particular, has changed. I reflect on the journey in Tesco. When I go back 5, 6, 7 years, The biggest and one of the most important departments, and there are many important departments, was probably the property department, because they put down stores and they did them the best, and they were the best at doing that. And therefore the business grew, because they did them faster, they did them better, and they did them cheaper than anybody else. Now, there are many other reasons, but actually that's one of the things that you could sit there and say, this is how the business actually started to grow. I think today businesses are starting to look at there's no more space, so it's hard to put more stores down, but also technology is now becoming a big real estate through which you sell, through which you communicate, through which you do touch your customers. And so the conversation, certainly in Tesco, moved from kind of property and big property conversation to technology. And when you start to focus on a conversation around, well, what can we do with tech? You have to then think about, well, how do we do tech, and how do we do it differently? And I think for that's then moved the solutions. If I reflect on my journey, I started with Accenture, and I started in technology. I started coding, and then the world moved to packages. So somebody else coded, and you put them in. And that was because technology was a cost center. Let's buy a package, let's put the package in, and let's make it work. And it doesn't matter if someone else uses that package, we just need to get it in. And so the demand for skills moved from engineers to program managers, because they program manage the solution, they then work with engineers who was the package you bought. Now, as technology is now becoming the tool that you use to touch your customers, you want to innovate there. So you want to own that space, and therefore you want to own your engineers. So what's happening is that there's a migration of, I used to engineer, I then put packages in, now we need to engineer again, because that's what our business requires.
But how do you manage this? So that is actually exactly the view we have in with our solution. So I give you like the super short pitch is like, you can either sell better products, then you have to go with like the standard package business, and you go to a SaaS platform and buy like an e-commerce shop from SaaS platform, or you go to a SaaS PIM system and buy, because you don't differentiate on the website experience or device experience, or you're in a world where you're selling better. And selling better is usually explained by having a better take on software, meaning better personalization, better cohort analysis, better take on data. If this is your competition now, then by definition, you can't use off-the-shelf software, because this was produced for standard case. So because you can't compete with your competition by having a better SAP integration. Just as an example. And this is actually the world where we are in. So we are selling not the ready-to-go Playmobil castle. We are selling Lego Technic. So you don't need to produce your bricks. You can use our bricks, but you build whatever you want. But this comes with a very interesting challenge. This comes with a challenge that in your old organization, you didn't build the skills to build something based on Lego Technic. You only trained the skills to play with Playmobil house, and the Playmobil castle did a superb job for a couple of years. And then you're now needing new skills, and sometimes is it like Lego Technic you need? Is it like Fischer Technic, which is another popular toy producer in Germany, or is it something else? And then it's a very, 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 very interesting discussion now, which we are observing in the market. Okay, should we go with super hot new front-end frameworks? Should we migrate the PIM system to our now own Python stack, and should we migrate the CRM system to a much hipper, PHP stack? And then there's a team acquired maybe from another company which was trained based in Ruby on Rails. And of course they're saying that the best language you can use for the order management system. So how do you manage this? This is like for companies that are still in the Playmobil skill set, super hard to manage.
So I think for all of these things, the answer is always somewhere in the middle, because you have to think about cost, you have to think about speed to market, you have to think about where do you want to innovate and where you don't want to innovate. So let me take an example. There is no way I want to build a general ledger. Why would I want to do that? I can go buy one. There's no, I want to build an accounts processing software. Why? Because there's no innovation there for my customer. I just got to get the best on the market, and I got to get that in and get it working. However, when it comes to my front end, my website, when it comes to my front end in stores, when it comes to my analytics, well, that's where I want to have innovation. That's where I want to build. So you end up with a hybrid model. You end up with an area where you have engineers and you have to have that kind of skill, and you end up with areas where you'll need, traditional program management, package configuration, and that kind of skills. Because actually, you have to make a choice as to where you want to innovate, and where you want to invest, and where you want to buy a package, and where you want to just make sure that you let the vendor invest in innovation. And that's kind of point one, because frankly, as an organization, we can't afford to spend billions like Amazon does on R&D. So we have to buy in certain places. So we have to choose where we actually are engineering and where we put our engineers. And I think that would be the case for most organizations. So they'll mostly end up, if you're not a tech company, you'll mostly end up with a bit of a hybrid. Now, having said that, we need more engineers for sure, and so the mix, the balance of program management versus engineer has shifted way towards engineering. So if I look at the mix of resources that we're going to need, it will be tilted towards engineers. But also, what's important are product people. We need people who can define the product, who can define the roadmap, who can then work with engineers to make sure what we're building has value. The value's there. Can then look at the data coming back from the analytics, and then can say, this is the feature I want next. So suddenly there's a skill set around product that's required. And then, because we're a complex multi-channel organization, we're not like a single website. You can go full stack. We have to think about some of our systems that operate in-store and online and how they work seamlessly. And so there is a need for architecture, and there is a need for program management. It's just the shift will be focused more towards engineering. The program management shift will be towards more technical program management. There's still an important role to have, and we still need architects. That's what I see. You might need a different mix of them, but you'll still need them.
And how do you pick your fight then on what kind of part do you want to innovate and what kind of part do you want to invest only in software? Because I can think about, like, let's take just the DevOps area. So I think there was a lot of innovation in there like 5 years ago, and then people tried to compete who is better in terms of Docker container management and other technology, and maybe this is not the market anymore. You want to innovate because there's some standard tools you can buy from, I don't know, Azure, Google, AWS, and then you need to innovate now more on the, what we're seeing now is like the new interfaces. Could be a voice interface, could be like a button interface, could be even other interfaces. So how do you pick those fights? Because just to build the skill in the DevOps area takes you, like, I don't know, a year, maybe two.
Yeah. I think you have to, frankly, as a retailer, you have to follow the customer. And what I mean by that means that you have to think about what are you doing, and how is this going to help my customer, and how is it going to help me innovate for my customer. That's my simple answer. So there'll be areas, topics where actually from an engineering perspective, the systems may not be great, but actually, does it really matter to the customer? But there'll be areas where it does, and we have to then do something about that. So in the example that you've given, right, Docker containers, what do you use? We have to then decide, well, how will that allow me to innovate features for my customer faster, quicker, simpler, cheaper? And if it does, I innovate there. If what I have doesn't, I use what I got. And that's the principle that we try and lay down. And that's just a practical principle, because actually we literally can't get, I can't get the engineers I need. Because everyone's after them, and so we have to think about that, and we have to pick and choose where we think actually we're going to get the maximum value for the money we put.
Yeah, that will be actually my next question. So how do you find the engineers? And we're always doing like the jokes around the Munich area that everybody who's able to write PHP, just the letters, not like coding, will be hired like as an engineer, and actually most companies haven't even started the hiring spree here. So if you're looking to BMW or other big companies in the Munich area, they will need not only PHP engineers, a lot of engineers, but there's like maybe tens of thousands of people needed, which are not there and can't be like trained to become engineers. What is your take on this?
I think it is difficult. We've actually done okay. Since October last year, we have hired 140. mainly engineers, not all engineers.
Just in Munich in Ingolstadt? Or?
Yeah, yeah, we have. Now it's not been easy. We've had a compelling story, which helps because we've transformed our tech organization and our business organization. We've created 84 product teams, comprising of product owners and engineers working together to solve business problems. We've moved onto Google Cloud. We're using the React stack, so we're using technology that people want to code in. And we're solving business problems that people want us to solve. And what's interesting is most of the people that we hire come to us, and I ask them, why do you want to join us? And a lot of them say, well, I used to shop with MediaMarkt, so I find the business interesting. And so actually there's a lot of people that we're part of their life and have been, because we've been in Germany for 40 years. We've been in most of our markets for a number of years, and so they find the business fascinating. They find the journey we're on fascinating, and we are on a journey. We are on a transformation journey. We are on a change journey, and they find that an interesting story. The reason why I came here, when I joined the business, I had a choice. I had a choice between coming out my house and turning right and driving 20 minutes and being in my office, or coming out my house, getting up at 5 a.m, turning left and driving to the airport and then flying here. And I fly here every week. I took that choice because of the journey we're on. I took that choice because of what we're trying to do as a business. I took that choice because of how important technology was in that journey. And so when you talk about that narrative and that story, I find that a lot of people are choosing to join us because they understand the story we're on, and they therefore want to be part of that. But we have to keep innovating, and we have to keep solving problems.
Okay, the story might work for now, but if you're looking on, like you said, it's like 64,000 people across all countries working for MediaMarkt right now. If you're believing in our own stories in like digital innovation and transformation, though, a decent part of these employees must be part of the engineering product organization in the future. So a couple of thousand, I could think of. So 100 is fine, but how do you get like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people over the next 5, maybe 10 years? I don't know, in the different countries working for MediaMarkt. So are you thinking about nearshoring, offshoring capabilities?
I mean,
look,
how do you do it? I don't see me having an end-state tech organization of that sort of size. I think the size that we are at today will be broadly the size that we're going to be at tomorrow. We will do more stuff ourselves. We are very dependent on partners. Something like 60% of my costs go to partners that we use, and we want to do more of that ourselves because we want to take control of it. So I see a shift. However, even with the numbers I'm talking about, circa 1,200, 1,300 people, I don't expect to hire nearly that sort of number in Ingolstadt or in Munich. So we have to start thinking about satellite centres. Already we have a centre in Cluj. We have about 280 people that do stuff for us there. And it's in Romania.
Okay.
In Romania, we've gone to Cluj because they speak German there, and it works very well. And it has worked very well for many years. We are starting. It's in initial stages to put more engineering into our office in Barcelona. We have 40 people there that start to do stuff for us there. So I think I will see as the work grows how we'll start to use satellite centres to get the engineers we need. And we will obviously use partners because the technology is very spiky in terms of the workload comes and goes and skills comes and goes. Suddenly I have to do work in this area and I don't have the skills. So we'll always have a need for partners. We just shifted the focus from 60% of my spend being with partners to more of my spend being internally and less being with partners.
All right, that's interesting because I would have expected even like 1,000 engineers and maybe plus 1,000 people at partners wouldn't do the trick because there's like more and more stuff coming, so there's like less dependency on the brick and mortar experience. So that's something Wolfgang Kirsch would have agreed in the last podcast, but I'm pretty much convinced that it's that people want to shop from their home on the sofa, so there's no need for store experience in the future as there is so much need today, but that's a different discussion.
Well, it's interesting because the market's not saying that. It's interesting, and I have a view on this. I mean, I think if you go back 4 or 5 years, you're absolutely right, and people were sitting there saying, you know what, that the stores are dead. If you listen to the market today, stores are now sexy. They really are. Why?
Who is telling the story?
Well, I think. Well, I would listen to a number of consultancy companies that talk about retailing. A number of you go to McKinsey, Bain, all those guys, and what they say about it. Now, just to be clear, stores have to transform. So they can't be they can't be the way they are today. They have to become a different kind of store for sure. Answer the question: why did Amazon buy Whole Foods? What was the rationale behind that? They bought stores because there is
they bought logistics hubs.
Well, I think so that's frankly what is a store then, in the future. So I see in the future, a store would be a showcase for your products. There will be a logistics hub to get to the last mile. There will be a place where you'll come for information. I think that for a lot of people, and when you spend 1,000 euros on a TV, you want to go and speak to someone and say, why do I buy that one versus that one? Why is that one better than that one? Now you can research it online, and some people will want to do that, and that's okay. But a lot of people want to come and talk to someone, an expert, and then go and buy it.
I don't listen so much to like McKinsey or Gartner or Sincere. I listen actually. I try to listen to the customer, and there we're seeing that numbers are pretty clear about that. And maybe there's need for stores, but for our different store experience, and maybe like even the business itself will transform from buying products from manufacturers to like selling store space. And that's a different concession model. But there's need for less stores, and like the financing model of the stores must change. And so there's and that's the most important learning. Most innovation comes out of digital interfaces, and now it's maybe the mobile interface and the voice interface. It's becoming more the AR interface in the future. That they are very, very, very good connected to the customer, wherever the customer is. Now he's at home, or now when we're sitting here at work, we can order something on our app or something like that. There's no need, and of course we are living in our own bubble. So if you're asking people here in the same age bracket, they're gonna answer no. I avoid like every trip to the next electronic stores or next store. I order online what I order online, and then I see my father-in-law, and of course he wants to go with the TV experience you have described. That there's not enough like revenue in the future. That was like the discussion we.
No. I think. Look, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think stores have to transform, and I think stores have to become different for sure. There's no doubt in my mind. But I do think that from what we see, certainly and we do listen to our customers. There are those that are going online. There are those that are going online and in store. There are those that come into store and then go online. For me, it's that seamless shopping experience that becomes the important thing to get right. And I do think that what stores offer us is exactly what you described. What Amazon done, they offer us the last mile. And so they will. A lot of our stores will be used for last mile delivery.
Okay. Let's assume there's a need for stores. Let's go with that. So I don't have like the final question, the final answer here.
Certainly for the next 5 years.
But in terms of like now stores are still very important, and you can see just the sheer numbers. It's like still 90% of all the retail revenue generated in stores. If you're looking on your omni-channel, multi-channel challenges, like from a technical perspective, there had been like a lot of discussion in the German-speaking markets about like it's really hard to scale, it's really hard to integrate the retail experience, the brick-and-mortar experience into the online experience, and all the efforts you're doing with integration is decreasing your capability of delivering a superb pure online experience. So you need to invest a lot just for like the omni-channel part, and then the pure online part got less developer attention, and the retail part got less attention. So what is your take on this? So what do you say is the hardest thing in omni-channel from an IT perspective today?
So for me, the hardest thing is fixing the legacy, because the reality is what's happened historically for most retailers is you had a store business, and the store business had a set of systems. We then bolted on an online business on the side, and it was literally a bolt-on. And so take a simple example. My store system has a basket where if you shop in store, you add to a basket. My online system has a different basket. It's two different baskets, but it's the same customer. And so one of the challenges we have is if you want to truly become seamless across physical and digital, it's got to become one basket. And if you're in the world of packages, well, what do you do there? You've got a package over here with one basket, and we have a package over here with one basket, and we have a package over here with another basket, and we don't have a package. Tesco had a package with another basket. So then it becomes a complex refactoring job to then think, well, how do I build this thing? Particularly given what I've got, I've got 1,000 stores and they've all got this thing. So how do I change it?
Yeah.
And so the problem becomes actually your legacy and how you deal with your legacy as you move through that journey. So what are we doing at MediaMarktSaturn? Well, we are replatforming our front end. And we're moving from a package to a custom build. We're moving out of WebSphere and we're moving to a custom build. So we're building it ourselves. Now, not only would that allow us to build features and deploy features quickly, we're doing it on Google Cloud so we can scale faster. We don't have to spend months getting ready for Black Friday. It'll auto-scale. So we're building it that way. But more importantly, we're building a multi-channel basket. So the basket we're creating is a multi-channel basket, and the basket will then follow you around.
And how would that work? So I have like a customer loyalty card, which I need to activate during the checkout process, and then in my online account, there's like popping up one PS4 and one TV or whatever.
I mean, the theory is that actually I could be researching online. I could like a product, and I can say, look, I want to talk to someone about that. I can add it to my basket online. I can then walk into a store. And through some form of identification, to be determined, it could be your phone, it could be your ID, it could be your club card ID, we can then say, oh, you've got an open basket, let's talk to you about that product.
Yeah.
You can then check out there and then, you can then check out there and say, can I have it in my home, can I get it delivered, or can I take it with me, depending on what it is. You can then add to your basket there. So actually, I want to buy this, this, and this. Oh, by the way, I want someone to come and install it. And I'll add it to my basket, and you'll check out once.
So, and how far away are you from relieving this universal basket experience?
I think we're very close to it.
That's something Christian told you to say, I'm pretty sure.
No. I tell you why. Because the refactoring of the online that we're doing is already live. It's live. It's being A/B tested. We have a number of customers who are using it. Our select product has been done. So 30% of customers in Germany. Then we got 10% on search and browse. We're building some of the other products out, and then we have a plan to roll that out and then roll it out across the group. So we've got to think about the group. The multi-channel basket is being built. We hope to get it start to test that probably early next year. Once we're happy those journeys work, that will get rolled out, and then the job is to get it rolled out around the world. Yeah.
Another question that came up here when I asked our technical guys here in the office what kind of stuff is interesting in the MediaMarkt IT environment is we've heard about it that a lot of product teams are using a very microservice-driven structure. So product teams and IT teams say if everybody can, maybe not all of the 84 teams, but most teams can build their own services, which are then connected, and that is something we've learned is super hard to manage because there's no real debugging procedure. There's like the PIM team is like pointing to the CRM team that they're missing something in their API, and then the CRM team is like pointing to the catalog management team saying, okay, no, there's some data missing, and it's really, really, really hard to manage. So what was your experience?
We're knee deep in those problems. So everything that you've described, I recognize as issues that we're facing. I wouldn't describe our architecture as moving towards microservices. And the reason why I say that is because we have a significant legacy estate to deal with. And you can't move to microservices when I have packages, I have SAP, I have legacy systems to deal with. So, but we are moving towards APIs. So the interaction method between domains, I would want to happen through an API. The reason why we're doing that is because it allows us to become independent at the domain level. So then each team can then iterate on functionality and release functionality quickly and shield themselves to some extent from the supporting areas. So that's the theory, and so we're doing it more as a way of having more independent teams and allowing each team to innovate independently. then actually moving towards proper microservices. Now we're at the start of the journey. So just to be clear, our first API was launched about 2 or 3 weeks ago. The price API, the new web shop is consuming it. We're learning, exactly what you've described. I want some more data. Where is that data? How do I get it? So that needs to be figured out. We plan to build our first 15 or so APIs in the next 6 months, and so we're really learning how to then work in this space. But for me, this is all about having teams that can work independently, and then having contracts and commitments that you have with the other teams, and you honour the commitment and you honour the contract, so they can all work independently. That's the idea.
Yeah, I'm just asking this question because it was a huge move towards like microservice-driven structures a couple of years ago when all the people tried to get rid of their intershop, hybrids, monolithic installations, but it's we use like a joke in the office telling that those microservice structures usually are now distributed monoliths, so even harder to manage, even harder to debug.
And we're not doing that. No. We're not doing that.
Okay, and then one question which is like specifically interesting now is there like now a team preparing for like Black Friday traffic? So how you're like a big company and there's like probably some coupon stuff going on. I think it's next week Friday. I'm not sure.
It is.
So how do you manage this? So.
Well, I mean, because we are still on our old front end systems, we have a pretty proven process for doing this. We've done it for the last few years. So we have teams who are pretty much getting geared up for Black Friday. They have been testing volumes for expected volumes for the last few weeks to make sure that all the various bottlenecks have been addressed. We've been fortunate to have we had a VAT initiative a few weeks ago here in Germany. We've also had one in Spain, so we've put some volumes through our systems and they're scaled well. And so we're in a place whereby we've through real programs have managed to make sure that systems will and can scale. When Black Friday happens, we have a 24/7 operations team who are on site, just monitoring the systems and making sure that they're running systems through. Any bottlenecks, we have a waiting room if we need to switch it on. Last year we didn't have to. At the VAT event, didn't have to. So we are confident we'll be ready for Black Friday. Okay. And so, but it's quite a manually intensive task. It requires a lot of people to get ready for it, to be on call, to prepare for it, to get the testing done for it. So, and that's largely because of the systems that we have.
How do you decide on how much people, how much resources you put on your recent issues and like rolling out like the seamless omnichannel experience or the new universal basket, whatever, versus kind of innovative topics which were pushed into the market through different conference formats. The one topic was like voice last year, very popular. Now it's artificial intelligence, and then there's like AR is coming though. Is it really important, like for your vision for the next like 1 or 2 years, or Beacon was like the topic of like 2 or 3 years ago?
I remember Beacon playing with them in the stores.
So, what is your take on innovation for this level?
Well, I mean, we have a chief innovation officer, Martin Wild, who does a lot of work with lots of startups and also innovative technology, which is great. So a lot of the things that he does really stretches that thinking. The things that I can see us now doing, because we've now initiated these product teams, is we have a mechanism where innovation through a backlog can get into operations. That's the idea. And so as a product owner, your job is to define your roadmap. Working with technology, your job is then to work out, well, actually, what innovation can I use to deliver value to my business? And so my hope is that through these product teams, we will get more and more innovation actually live, because it'll be on the backlog, they'll understand what the value is, they'll monitor it, they'll A/B test it, they'll prove the value, and then if we're happy, we'll go. That's the idea. Before the product teams, I think the vehicle for delivering innovation was very difficult, because it was more a case of, well, I got something, a great idea, how do I get it in? and I got to knock on people's doors, and they're then saying, well, I'm doing this first, and so it was more of a, I need to go and influence people. Now, actually, because we have these product teams, it is a case of working with the product owners to then define the value, get it prioritized in the backlog, and off we go. So it should be easier.
But don't you think like MediaMarkt has like a self-fulfilling prophecy potential here? Like Amazon proved, for example, with the voice stuff, they just built stuff nobody was asking for.
Yeah.
And pushed it into the market. Of course, like on a different level when it comes to sheer potential of R&D money spent. But isn't there something you can imagine to be like an innovator in like smart home environments, like building something yourself?
I think we absolutely can. And I think we are positioning ourselves to get ready for that. I think, historically, it's just been a little bit difficult because we've been a very decentralized business. Moving forward with the product teams, with the mechanisms we're putting in place, this will become a lot easier. The opportunities for us are actually significant. I can see that, and I'm absolutely confident in the next few months you'll see some of these things coming to production.
Okay, and now I have to take Willem's view on the WimLex interviews here, and there's like one question still open. So how many people do you have like working on the, let's say, data analytics layer in the tech organization? So how many people are there to extract data from all systems and try to find out about the customer's behavior, to give like information to the purchasing department or to the customer service department? Is there like a centralized data analyst team in there, or is it like part of the marketing department?
No, I mean there isn't a centralized team at the moment. A lot of the teams do their own data analysis, but what we are doing
very dangerous. Yeah.
What we are doing is we're building a new data lake. We are taking all of our data, putting it into the lake, and then starting to build proper cubes on the back of that. So one of the first use cases we're doing is we're building a pricing cockpit. So we're helping our pricing team with different elasticity curves to then really to help them with price analysis. We'll do the same this year with customer analysis. So we are bringing a lot of these things together onto our analytics platform. We're building a new platform on Google Cloud. And we're launching our first use case in the next month or so, and more will come. So we're on a journey there as well. The journey is the right journey, but yeah, we'll get there.
I think the journeys itself, they are pretty clear, like in-housing stuff, like restructuring IT teams, data. It's the question for me is, and that's why I'm so interested in your take on in-house ontology, how fast can you walk through the journeys? Because there's more and more journeys to come, like in the different stream, and the ones who are able to run through the journeys, they're going to be the winners.
It's interesting. If you ask our business teams, they'll probably say we're not going fast enough. If you ask us, we're going much faster than we were, and we're getting faster all the time. And so I think the amount of innovation that's going to happen in the next 6 months is probably going to be more than the innovation that's happened in the last 4 years. So we have to constantly, this is why we've changed, this is why we've built agile product teams, this is where we can think very quickly, adjust our backlog and very quickly take advantage of the latest innovation ideas that are out there. That's the theory. We're at the start of the journey, but I'm hoping that through what we're trying to create, we will start to go much quicker, and we'll start to see more innovation come out.
Cool. Is there something, and that's my last question, is there something like for 2019 which you're really looking forward to, like a big challenge, a big project, a big launch of whatever?
The reality is we are, in retail, there are a number of big pillar systems. You know, your store system, your order broker, your online systems, your supply chain systems, your category management systems. At MediaMarktSaturn, we're replacing all of them, and we're doing them all together. That's what we're doing. So we have our new store system with our cross-channel baskets due to get launched. We have a new website being launched as we speak across the group. We have a new supply chain platform that we're creating that we're going to launch in the next few weeks in Germany and in Holland, and then we're going to roll that out. And so if I fast forward a year, I would expect a lot of innovation to be going into our organization and a lot of change in the way our business operates through technology. But the exciting thing about what we're doing is that every pillar of foundational systems that you would think about, we are innovating or replacing. And so
that's an interesting challenge.
The answer to your question is I hope to see lots next year.
Cool.
Lots next year.
That's a nice outlook to 2019, and I'm pretty sure you're going to see you again in the WimLex Show or one of our other podcasts.
I'd love to come back and give you an update as to where we are.
Thanks a lot for your time here in the Spiker headquarters in Berlin, and good luck with your challenges in 2018 and 2019 and with the Black Friday.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.